Welcome to Stories After Dark, where we will be going over 3 true stories that took place in Ohio. The first one is called The Orphans of Wisner Road. So the story goes, in the deep, damp woods of Kirtland, Ohio, Wisner Road isn't just a stretch of asphalt. It's a border between the world we know and a laboratory of nightmares. Locals whisper the name of Dr. Crow, a man who allegedly turned a secluded orphanage into a factory of pain. They say he treated children suffering from hydrocephalus, not with medicine, but with experimental serums that caused their skulls to swell into bulbous, translucent domes. When the children finally revolted, they didn't just kill the doctor, they became the ghosts of the forest. On a humid July night, 4 friends decided to test the legend. They killed the engine halfway down Wisner Road, letting the silence of the woods swallow them. At first, there was nothing but the rhythmic chirping of crickets. Then the sound changed. It became a wet, squelching noise, like bare feet hitting mud. One of the teens pointed toward the tall grass. A pale, round shape emerged. Not a moon, but a head, skin stretched so thin it looked like wet parchment. Then another appeared, and another. They weren't just watching, they were surrounding the car. When the driver fumbled for the keys, the headlights flickered on, illuminating dozens of tiny, needle-toothed faces with eyes that reflected the light like a cat's. The engine roared to life just as a small, cold hand slapped against the window, leaving a smear of something dark and foul. They didn't look back, but the scratching sound followed them for miles. The next one we will be talking about is the hearse of Stanford Road, Helltown. So the story goes, the government called it a buyout for a national park, but the people of Boston, Ohio, knew it as the end of the world. In 1974, the town was emptied, the houses boarded up, and the mail left to rot in rusted boxes. Today, it's known as Helltown. The most infamous path through this wasteland is Stanford Road, the road to hell. Mark thought the stories of satanic cults and chemical mutations were just bored teenagers' fantasies. He drove his truck past the road closed signs, the beam of his headlights cutting through a fog so thick it felt like wool. The air felt heavy and metallic. As he crested a hill, he saw it in his rearview mirror, a black 1950s style hearse. It had no headlights, yet it kept pace perfectly. Panic set in. Mark floored the accelerator, weaving through the abandoned streets, past the screaming woods where the trees seemed to twist into human shapes. The hearse stayed inches from his bumper, a silent shadow of death. He turned onto the dead-end stretch of Stanford Road, realizing too late he was trapped. He slammed on the brakes, the tires screaming. The hearse stopped 10 feet behind him. Mark's engine sputtered and died. The radio screamed with static, and then absolute darkness. In the silence, Mark heard the heavy door of the hearse creak open. A voice, cold as the Ohio winter, whispered from the back seat of his own truck. "You've reached the end of the road." The last one we will be talking about today is the Ash Woman of Ashtabula. On December 29th, 1876, the sky over Ashtabula was a wall of white. The Pacific Express was nearing the station, carrying 159 souls through a record-breaking blizzard. As the lead engine hit the iron bridge over the Ashtabula River, the structure groaned and snapped like a dry twig. The train plummeted 70 feet into the icy abyss. The impact didn't kill everyone. It was the fire. The oil lamps inside the wooden cars shattered, turning the wreckage into a furnace. Witnesses stood on the banks, helpless, listening to the screams of those trapped under the ice and iron as the flames licked the frozen air. 89 people died that night. 48 were so badly burned they could never be identified. They were buried in a mass grave at Chestnut Grove Cemetery. Local legend says the fire never truly went out. On the anniversary of the crash, the temperature near the bridge site drops 20 degrees, yet the air smells of scorched wood and coal smoke. People have reported seeing a woman in ash wandering the cemetery, her face a mask of gray soot, searching the rows of headstones. She stops at the mass grave and begins to dig with blackened fingers, her silent mouth forming the names of the children she lost to the river. If you catch her eye, they say you'll feel a heat so intense it blisters the skin, even in the middle of a snowstorm.